You keep the people of the area destabilized, fighting over who is right and who is wrong. Offer them solutions that they didn't need after you created problems they didn't have. And now you have people you can easily rule over, as they never have time to look up and to see who's actually fucking them. And this is what they did to the Middle East. Let's take this a step even back further. Where have we gotten in society where a dude thinks that it's okay and it's good for him to go compete with girls and be proud that he beat a fucking girl?
Yeah.
How did we ever get to that point?
That
Yeah,
swimmer did that.
How
Yeah.
did, the boxer in the Olympics.
Boxer.
How do you fucking come to that? Who allowed you to think that would be a good thing to do? That I know you're a dude. You put some lipstick on, you go beat that girl up in the boxing ring. Now we ought to applaud you. Who the fuck thinks like that? Why are we not protecting our women?
School.
Ready, action.
Two Marines, one damn mic, talking sense and straight senseless all night. This is Sense and Senseless.
Boom. It sounded like it was slow. Maybe it was just on my welcome back to the Sense and Senseless podcast. I am Brian.
What's your upload again? I'm Jason.
I'm at 99%. He's Jason. If you're new here, welcome to the family. We're just two dudes trying to make sense of shit in a way we can all understand. Last episode, we exposed the game, the mind fuck, where both Republicans and Democrats keep bailing out a sinking ship instead of trying to fucking fix the damn thing. We showed how out of touch politicians divide us, how the media turns us into short attention consumers who fight each other over bullshit, and how inconvenient voices get destroyed or silenced. All of it to prove the real playbook to control the masses. Divide and conquer, control the narrative, and keep us at each other's throats. In this episode, we're going to keep moving forward with what basically we were talking about last episode, but we're going to go back in history and discuss the Ottoman Empire and bring the correlation of that 600-year empire to the United States. So stay with us. I'm going somewhere with this shit. Just trust the process. Like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate every single one of you. You got anything, Jason?
Nope. Run it.
Let's do this shit. All right. So we're going to start with a video. And this is where Zionism may have started. I got to find a video. Here we go.
Zionism did not begin in Palestine. It began in Europe. In the late 19th century, Europe was redrawing itself into nation-states. One people, one land, one flag. And in that same Europe, Jews faced pogroms, exclusion, and the Dreyfus Affair. Watching that trial was a Viennese journalist named Theodor Herzl. His conclusion: if Europe defined itself by nations, Jews must become one, with a state of their own. But nationalism was only half of Europe's story. The other half was empire. In those same decades, European powers carved up Africa at the Berlin Conference and settled what they called New Worlds, on a doctrine that land occupied by natives was legally empty. In America, the frontier was declared wilderness and its nations removed. In Australia, the law called an inhabited continent terra nullius, nobody's land. The people already there were reclassified as part of the landscape, backward, uncivilized, movable. Zionism was born in that Europe, and it inherited both ideas at once. A nation must have a land, and land held by natives is available. The early Zionists debated where: Argentina, British East Africa. The answer became Palestine, and the movement found its slogan: a land without a people, for a people without a land. Palestine at that time was home to roughly 700,000 people. Herzl wrote that the Jewish state would form, quote, a portion of the rampart of Europe against Asia, an outpost of civilization as opposed to barbarism. And when he needed a patron, he wrote to Cecil Rhodes, the man who colonized southern Africa. How do I turn to you? Herzl asked. Quote, because it is something colonial. The settlement bank was named the Jewish Colonial Trust, the land agency, the Jewish Colonization Association. This is not a later accusation. It is the movement's own stationery. England had already run this script, in America, in Australia, in Africa. Palestine was simply next, and Palestine was not empty.
Okay, I just wanted to play that video to give you a little background on Europe and the Zionist movement. If I explain this the way I think I can explain it, this will be later understood either in this episode and the next episode, but it should all, you know, you should be able to understand where I'm going with this. I don't want to have to explain this to you right now, but I wanted you to see this for our discussions later on. All right. You got anything before we move on? You can
Oh,
say
I
what you
think
need.
no, no, I know. I just think we've discussed this before, and I guess you're going to go into it a little bit thicker of just strategically placing people in certain locations, and there's a reason.
Yes, I think
They
so.
didn't just drop the Jews right where they did for the here, yeah, we found a little chunk of land not being occupied. Here you go. It's strategic. There's a reason why they put them there.
I think so. Can't prove that, but I think so. Okay, so real quick, we're gonna do some history. What I'm about to go over is a very simplified version of the fall of the Ottoman Empire and how this affected the Middle East. Okay. Now, most of the Middle East and parts of Africa made up the Ottoman Empire, and this empire lasted a little over 600 years. By the 1800s, this powerful empire was heavily in debt. Funding their huge, outdated military and overextension of their monetary resources led the empire to having to borrow money from which could have been considered their foes, both Britain and France. The private banks that loaned this money were owned by powerful families like the Rothschilds. Now,
Mm,
once you have borrowed money from the devil, nothing ends well, right?
mhm.
And by the early 1900s, there was no more Ottoman Empire. The debt collectors started cashing in the debt, and this was costly to the Ottomans. Now, around the same time, there were Westerners combing the Middle Eastern deserts for oil. Now, of course, once they found pay dirt, this caused a frenzy. You know, it might have been maybe something like the gold rush, maybe. You know, the same time in the early 1900s, Germans were building a railway from Berlin to Baghdad. They called it the Baghdad Railway. They were going to use this to ship oil, bypassing normal naval routes and shipping lanes. The Brits and the French didn't like that very much at all. To add to this, Winston Churchill, who was the driving force behind modernizing the British Navy at the time, knew that the future was not coal. So therefore he needed oil for his new engines. Now, guess what? The Brits had coal, but they don't have oil. But guess who does? The Middle East.
Mm.
Now, what I found this week in looking at a lot of this stuff, that this was one of the reasons why we ended up going to war with Germany and the Ottoman Empire in World War One. That oil in the Middle East and the Baghdad Railway put crosshairs on Germany and the Ottoman Empire because the Ottoman Empire chose to align with Germany. Now, World War One takes off and the Ottoman Empire falls alongside of Germany. During World War One, there was an estimated 15 to 22 million people killed, and this is military and civilians. Of that, 3 to 5 million were killed in the Middle East. The Ottoman deaths were 325,000 to 771,000 military, and then 1.2 to 2.5 million civilians. They estimate that the Ottomans lost 2 to 4 million people in World War One. And following World War One, there were sanctions put on Germany, and they had to pay the Western countries, reparations for this war. And the Western countries came in and they just started dividing the Ottoman Empire. Basically, what they did is they came in and they just drew lines on a map and took the best areas and their mineral rights. They didn't consider who was living where, what cultures or where, and what religions or regions of worship. Nothing. They just got together and divvied up the loot the best way it suited them. They didn't give a shit about the people. And we wonder why there was so much chaos in the Middle East. We hear of religious wars, but we don't hear how the people that thought differently from one another, that, had different religions, that had different beliefs, just woke up one day and were told they had to live with each other. So now you got these groups that don't like each other because they have different ideology living in the same states, and they start fighting each other. And we just look at it and call it religious wars.
Mhm.
And these people just wake up one day and their country's borders change. And I'm sure this probably even split families apart. But like we said in the last episode, they, them didn't care. They just wanted the fucking oil.
Mhm.
You keep the people of the area destabilized, fighting over who is right and who is wrong. Offer them solutions that they didn't need after you created problems they didn't have. And now you have people you can easily rule over, as they never have time to look up and to see who's actually fucking them. And this is what they did to the Middle East.
Mhm.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Did you know that story?
No, I had no idea that happened, and that sounds like the Middle East wasn't really a volatile area until that pretty
N-
well.
Well, it was all under one rule and it had different states in it. And I'm not going to say they didn't have, rifts and all, but no, the way they drew the lines caused
Made it
issues.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah, you in the last episode you said the Sunnis and someone else living in Iraq and all, and I read all that, and it's true. They had multiple groups
Mhm.
living in the same area, and they're supposed to just blend, and they never had to
They
blend
don't?
before, and they don't. But
Yeah.
it's no different than they trying to tell us that we're different, but we have to blend. And most of us have no problem blending, and we'll go through that tonight. But you take the ones on the far outside edges, the ones that make the most noise, and they make it appear like we don't want to, and that keeps problems within us. And it's the same thing, in my opinion, not us that done it, but at this time it was Britain and France, of how they destabilized the Middle East. That's just how I
Mhm.
see it. I
Mhm.
could be completely wrong, but based off of everything I read and watched,
Looks like you're onto something.
pretty much looked like that's what they did.
Yeah.
Now,
Cause chaos and hate and discontent over there, and then you can damn near take what you want because 'cause
and
they're
it,
not unified.
then it
If
pretty
they were
much did.
unified, they could stop other countries from doing that.
And if you remember when we talked about Iran, how the British had their oil from the early 1900s into the 50s. And then in the 50s, the Iranian leader decided to take the mineral rights back. And then we had to do a coup in the 53 and, the 79. And they overthrew the British czar that they put in there, whatever his name was,
Right.
Mohammed, whatever. So yeah, we destabilized the shit out of all of them. I don't know of anything out of all the trillions we spent on the war on terror and everything we did in the Middle East that made anything better for those people.
Right.
Not the people. It might have made a lot of people rich over there, you know, but the people that live there, I don't. How many millions of people we were talking about? What it was last week or the week before last that were displaced multiple times?
Oh, yeah.
It's just unreal. And no matter where you go in time or what you look at, the ones with the most money, whether their names are the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, whatever, they, them,
Right.
they're the ones that run everything. Doesn't matter what what time frame it was, what area, period of the world. Whoever has the most money is who rules the world. It's just the way it is.
Mhm.
And they sit there and they have us fighting over crumbs, and they just laugh at us. when you think of the Hunger Games and how they, make this game out of everything, and we all joke about how one day we're going to be in the Hunger Games. If you take, if you zoom out far enough and look how we fight each other on a daily basis and what they're looking at us on, we're probably already in the fucking Hunger Games. It's just, we're not sitting there actually fighting in that sense. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And when I'm done with this by the end of the night in the next episode, you're going to completely understand that. All right. So here we are. We're 39 trillion in debt. We have our military stretched around the world. We spent a fuck ton on our defense budget, and they're asking for more. And I have no problem with having the best military in the world. And I know that comes at a price. But do you really think we're getting what we pay for? Like the contracts that are being signed aren't costing us as much as in fraud as it is in actual cost.
Mm.
And here's a recent example of how we're getting fucked because we love our country and want the best. So we don't argue over the money allocated to the defense. We want to defend our great nation. But since we don't argue about this shit, this is the kind of shit we get. According to CBS News, a Pentagon watchdog report found that in roughly 2 years since it was built, an ammunition plant in Mesquite, Texas, has not produced any parts for the 155 millimeter artillery rounds, hindering the Army's goal to help backfill stocks of ammunition provided to Ukraine after Russia invaded in 2022. In a report released Monday, the Defense Department Inspector General found that as of March 2026, the plant had not produced any metal projectile parts that met the specifications laid out in the contract. And the Army's expenditure of a $469 million to establish the Mesquite facility could have been used to address other Army or Department of Defense priorities. That plant, which is operated by General Dynamics Ordnance and Tactical Systems, opened in May 2024. As of March of 2026, the Army was producing about 36,000 rounds per month, still far short of the $100,000 a month goal, in part because the facility in Mesquite failed to produce any of the 30,000 projectile metal parts it was expected to make each month, according to the report. So where's that $469 million? Where'd it go?
I
We
don't Somebody's pocket got I mean, it's laundering, isn't it? Isn't that's money laundering, that's definition right there.
we should have something to show for that. But yet we're fighting over crumbs. We're fighting with each other about this dumb shit, and we're losing millions. That's a $500 million, basic.
Mhm.
Just
And that's just one example.
that's one example, right? And that's not only stealing our money, but it's also hindering our defense of our country.
Who's the reporter that covered that? We might wanna watch their name and
Yeah,
see
you're
if they end up
right.
with
He
2
might commit
gunshot wounds to the
suicide.
head and they committed suicide. He chopped his own head off
Twice.
twice. Yeah. We found 2 katana swords in there.
Oh, you
Whoa, just a mucus. He was a big Street Fighter
That's right.
enthusiast.
He was Mortal
Oh, you
Kombat. Finish him.
finish him. Yeah, Katana wins. Flawless victory. Jeez.
It's sad. I mean, that's more believable than the suicide from that we discussed in the last episode.
Yeah. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
I mean, that jeez.
All right. So in the last episode, we started talking about how we are a society of consumers. And the next video, for all of y'all listening, it's going to show the change in world economic superpower since World War II. The video actually goes back to 1800, but for our discussion, we're only going to view this from after World War II. So I got to pull this one up and screen share. So give me a second. You're going to enjoy this. All right. So as you can see in World War II, the U.S. was the dominant, by far, the economic superpower.
Mhm.
So, we had way the fuck over here. And then Germany, Germany's what 25% of what we are.
Mhm.
Then United Kingdom and Russia. China is what one, two, three, four, five, six. Way the fuck down here. That's China. So let's watch how this plays out. All right, so that's where I want to be. So we're at 1960.
Mhm.
1960, the US was still the powerhouse, right? But
Yep.
this is when things start to change. And one of the reasons might be because in the 1960s we started offshore a lot of our business, which we're going to go over in a little bit, but we way the fuck ahead of everybody at this point. Way the fuck ahead of everybody. Well, let's see where we go from here. All right, so 1980, 1979 there. This is when our manufacturing employment had peaked in the US at around 19.5 million jobs. So we still got a pretty good lead on everybody. China actually dropped further down.
Yeah, I
And
seen them take a big plummet.
yeah, they took a big plummet. India's still down. And then manufacturing had already been in declining since the 50s and 60s, but absolute job losses and economic turn intensified after the 1979. During this period, the shift from making shit in the US shifted to services, and what led to our economy being dominated by finance, real estate, and healthcare. Suddenly, people that build or fix things were looked down upon, and everyone was chasing the dream of the corner office with a view. That's where we at in 1980. Let's move a little further. All right, year 2000. Where we at now? We're still a pretty
China
good
done
lead.
jumped up there. Yeah, I know, but
China's moving pretty quick, ain't they?
yeah, they are. I thought
Well,
old
by
Japan was about to get us.
between 2000 and 2009, the U.S. lost between 5 and 6 million manufacturing jobs. Where do you think they went?
Overseas.
All right, let's go a little further.
India had them call centers. That's what drove their shit.
Yeah, they moving up though, aren't they? You know, India was a huge power for a long time. I didn't realize that, and so I started doing a little more history. Yeah, they were a huge power for a long fucking time. All right,
Mhm.
let's move a little further.
God dag, there they went.
All right, yep. So where we at now? 2013, 2014. China
Mhm.
takes the lead. Here comes pride in the backstretch, heartache running on the inside. By 2013, China has surpassed us as the economic power. All right, so now I'm just going to let it play out, and you're going to see how far this goes. Next bit for y'all listening. Jason, just go ahead and describe what you're looking at because I've seen this before. Just describe what you've seen in the last couple minutes.
Well, I mean, we were like way ahead. Like nobody could even get near us. If we just continued a good growth, we were going to always be the heaviest power financially. And it's all the Australia, Thailand, Iran, Spain, Saudi, Canada, South Korea, Turkey, Mexico, Italy, France. I mean, China was, like you said, number 6, and I seen them fall down, like, halfway, like, to number 10 or 12. And then, I mean, India and China and Japan right now, I would have thought Russia
Not so
would have
much.
been our best contender, or even United Kingdom. And
Why you think no one talks about China being a power like this? And just so everyone listening and looking at this, this is by purchasing power.
Mhm.
All right. So this is not actually overall GDP. This is purchasing power, what you can actually go out and purchase. All right. And that's what we're losing. We're losing purchasing power. All right. Let it play out and see how far this goes. Now it's gonna start estimating as it goes forward. Um, I think when it gets up to like 2019 or something, it starts doing a little more estimation, but it goes all the way up to 2040. And that's what I really want you to see. So I'm just gonna let it play out and then I'll let you explain what you've seen. All right.
Mhm.
And that's where China should be by 2040.
Yeah, that's crazy, like 40,000,000,
That's wild.
and we were at, like, 29 or 30 or something like that.
Trying to figure out how to stop the screen share.
But India was right there on our heels too. I mean, we were going backwards pretty. I mean, it looked like we were gaining, but it looked like we were going backwards according to the graph, but
But definitely wasn't gaining much.
no. China was just like boom, like a rocket ship. But that's that's
Is
on
that eye
us. I
opening
mean,
or what?
yeah, and I mean, we seen that. We seen that in the '90s and early 2000s, the late '90s and early 2000s, when a lot of these factories started shutting down, like Whirlpool and places like that, and they started going overseas.
Yeah, well, it was designed that way, and we're about to go over that. Now it's called globalization. Now I know for some of you, I'm oversimplifying this issue, you know, but for most of the people in this country, they don't even know this. You know, they haven't seen this shit before.
Yeah, what was that? NAFTA?
Well, NAFTA is part of it, but it all started.
That was a big crock and caused a lot of problems with us
Yeah, I
because
think that was in '94.
yeah, they said that was one of the biggest bullcrap things we ever signed and got into, and it took a lot of business from us and a lot, you know what I'm saying? We were importing way more stuff than we were exporting.
We're still doing that. I mean, Trump was trying to
Well,
work
that
with that.
yeah, but they acted like that started a big chunk of that, and see where we're at today.
Well, what caused this shit in the simplest terms is it was the push for globalization. And globalization, in the simplest terms, is opening the world up to a free marketplace. And it sounded great. The people of the US and other countries would get cheaper shit, and corporations were going to get cheaper labor and higher profit margins. All right.
Right.
And this was going to create wealth for all of us. You know, this would spread the wealth. Well, it fucking spread the wealth, all right, among the fucking
Who got
elites.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, who got all that wealth, Brian?
So
Not us.
in the 1960s and 70s, wealth was more evenly spread. The middle class was strong, and the top 1% held a smaller share. Starting in the 1980s, around the time globalization accelerated, inequality started rising sharply. By recent years, the top 1% own about 30 to 35% of all household wealth. The top 10% hold around 70% of the wealth. The bottom 50%, well, we only hold less than 10% of the wealth. Yeah, we became rich as a country overall, but there's a fucking big divide between who's rich and who's poor.
Right.
Big divide. Which brings me back to how we're being played. Globalization started in the 1960s and ramped up in the 80s, meaning we were losing jobs for the working class. Prior to the 1960s, the scale of welfare in the US was small. This grew from 1960s to the 90s, which peaked with about 5 million families on welfare. Then there was welfare reform in 1996, and this ended the cash welfare as it was written, which I didn't know this. So prior to the reform, welfare was an open entitlement. So if you qualified, usually as single moms with kids and low income, you would get the benefits as long as you need them with a few requirements. But with the reform in 1996, able bodies were limited to 5 years and they had to show they were looking for work. I didn't know that.
I didn't
But
either.
this is probably why I didn't know this, is because this federal reform, there were states like California, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Washington, Oregon, and DC who just had lax requirements. So you can still get on the system and still get what you needed without having to deal with the 5 years and showing you're looking for work. In 2025, we spent 1.2 trillion on federal programs like SNAP, earned income tax credits, housing aid, and welfare. When you include Social Security and Medicare, we spent $3 to $4 trillion in one fucking year.
It's crazy.
So we're back up to the 1996 range of spending 20% of our GDP on government aid. This is more than double what it was prior to globalization. Currently, 100 to 150 million people in the U.S. receive some form of government assistance. That is roughly 30 to 45% of the population. And it looks like globalization not only made us poorer, but it made us more dependent on the government.
That's where you're hitting the nail on the head, dude, because that's
Mhm.
votes.
Exactly. Now, this next video I'm about to play for you, it's about Republican and Democrat, but I don't want people to get lost on that. I want you to view this through a lens of education, not who's right or who's wrong. Just listen to the guy because he has a really good point. And I don't care if you're a Republican or if you're a Democrat, just listen to him and
Yeah.
you'll understand.
Take your hat and your shirt off and sit on the fence and just watch.
Yep. There you
It's
go.
okay to sit on the fence on this one.
Do you think that you assume that Republicans are the party of the rich and Democrats are the party of the poor?
I think so. I think if I were a multimillionaire, I would probably try to see the side of Republicans. I don't know why. Like I said, it's just
Right.
those
So
stigmas.
let me ask you a follow-up question. If I know that I'm the party of the poor, what does it benefit me to try to make sure that you're rich?
They don't.
Exactly. And so my policies are going to align with that, keeping you poor. That's why you have systems like the welfare program, where you can't earn over a certain amount or you lose your benefits. So I'm going to keep you poor because I'm the party of the poor and I need your vote. Whereas if I'm the party of the rich, I have every incentive to make sure that you become rich if I want your vote. I need to put more money in your pocket. I need you to understand that you can make as much money as you want to. I need to put systems in place that get out of your way when you're trying to open up your business. You know, I don't need to put a million regulations in place if you're a barber and make it impossible for you to get a license or go and work in a shop. I need you to make as much money as you can, and I need to step out of your way so that you can be successful if I'm the party of the rich and I want your vote. If I'm the party of the poor, I have every incentive to keep you poor. That's why I'm going to put more regulations in place. I'm going to make it as hard as possible for you to get a license to open up your shop. I'm going to make it as hard as possible for you to escape these taxes. I'm going to make sure that every roadblock possible is in your way because once you become rich, I no longer have your vote.
How'd you
That
like that?
that's slick.
Pretty smart, huh?
Yeah, you don't have to be one way or the other to understand that, I hope. I hope you or people can you people. What do you mean by you people?
Well,
You racist again saying you people. No. I'm talking about people that wanna hang on freaking Democrat or Republican. Stop.
why would they
Jeez.
want to send our jobs overseas? All right. I don't know. I'm going to show you something. These graphs I got. Okay. So for those of y'all listening, this is a graph showing people that are receiving government benefits. This is total government benefits, and this is in the millions. All right. So you see, in 1960, this is when they started talking about globalization. From 1960 to 2000, I mean, it just shoots. Well, actually, fucking 2010 it shoots straight up, and it comes down for a little bit to 2020. All right, and then it shoots back up again. Globalization in 1960, I mean, it just skyrocketed up. I mean, do you see it otherwise?
No, it was yeah, it's not a steady climb. It's like this. It's
Yeah,
like a 45-degree angle.
and like the 30 years before that, or
It
even
was
even more, maybe 40 years, it was a slight angle. Then it just shot straight the fuck up. I mean, we went from 20 billion or whatever this is, way to we just went way the fuck up there.
yeah,
Now,
it went from like a 2 or 3-degree incline, from whenever to 1940, then was it look like 1950, it kinda like, "Uh-oh," and then 1960, it was like, "Eh," and then from 60 on, dude, it went straight 45, 50-degree angle up. I mean, just hard.
so this
Not
next one,
straight up and down, but it
yeah, I mean, it was almost a 45-degree angle.
yeah,
And then the next one I'm going to show you, this is welfare to GDP.
it looks the same.
Okay, so the Great Depression, I mean,
Yeah,
it shot straight the fuck up, right?
yeah,
Then it
and we
stabilized.
understand that,
Yep.
right.
And then the 1960s, I mean, it jumped way the fuck up here. Now, that one spot they show, that's whenever they went ahead and did their reform in 1996 and it dropped, right?
Yeah,
But we're right back where we used to be.
yeah,
So we're currently still at 20% of our GDP that we're spending on social welfare.
mhm,
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of votes. That's a lot of
mm,
dependency.
mhm.
And that could have been avoided. I would assume that a lot of people, majority of people, would like to work for a paycheck. They want to be part of something. But I think now, at that time, I think now we created a society that doesn't need a paycheck because have a dependency on the government. And the government likes that because they have constant voters.
And who wouldn't wanna sit at home and not have to take orders from somebody?
Oh, it's get a check just to sit at home?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be nice. I would assume, I don't know. I haven't been there. I would assume yes, because the stress that, I have to deal with, I get it, you know? But would it be fulfilling very long? I don't know. And I would think that
No.
majority of the people, when they were first losing their jobs because of this globalization, felt like that. They wanted to work. But when you go out, and I'm not taking up for anybody, the people that just get over on the system, I mean, that's just bullshit. Having said that, I would assume that if they are offshoring your jobs, right? Let's just say in the 60s, the 70s, 80s, they come in and they shut this whole damn plant down, like in
Mhm.
Michigan or whatnot. They shut that whole plant down. Now you got thousands of people without jobs. Now all these people are competing for just what little jobs they have left out there, right? So now
Mhm.
it's hard for you to find a job. Now that's going to be demoralizing as shit, right? And you just constantly trying to find, and everything's beating you up. I don't know. Did we beat them into submission?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I didn't have to go through that, so I can't answer that. But looking at the numbers and and putting it in the graph with the dates, you would almost be damn sure that globalization and us offshoring our jobs created the welfare state.
Mhm.
It just did.
Mhm.
All right. So now they want you to fight over everything. They want you to be a victim of everything. They want you to depend on the government. And this is all for control. Now, I can't prove that they was playing 8D chess back then and they started globalization because they knew they were going to have, government programs and be able to control the vote. I don't know all that. But looking back, hindsight, you can see how it worked out. And now what if you're a party of the middle class or the working class? I mean, how does that look? Listen to this lady.
You probably shouldn't answer this, but is the middle class a trap?
The middle class is the most expensive place to live in worldwide, and no one is talking about it. Poor people get help. Rich people, they have options. The middle class somehow pays full price for everything and gets nothing. Think about it. If you make $85,000 a year, it sounds fine on paper, but you're too rich for financial aid, so your kids are going to take out loans. You're too rich for housing assistance, so you pay rent full price. You're too rich for medical aid, so your insurance costs $600 and it barely covers anything. You're too rich for food stamps, so your grocery bill eats you alive. But you're too poor to invest, too poor to buy property, too poor to hire help, too poor to start a business without risking everything, too poor to take a year off or to actually be free. So you work the 50 hours a week to stay exactly where you are. You can't go down. The safety net is gone. You can't go up. The capital isn't there. You're just stuck running on a treadmill that rewards you with the same spot every single year. And the most cruel part is you're the one that society depends on. You pay the most taxes by percentage. You fund everything. You vote. You show up. But you get nothing back but a clap that you're doing fine. The middle class isn't a step on the ladder. It is a trap door. If you're in it, you've got two choices. Climb hard enough to escape it or accept that you're funding everyone else's lives except your own. There's no staying in the middle. The middle is disappearing, and the people who don't see it are the ones that are going to wake up wondering what happened to the life that they thought that they were actually building.
Think about that.
She's right.
She is right.
I mean, I've known that for a long time.
Well, did you know that currently in the U.S., roughly 51% of the population is considered middle class? Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
A little more than half of the fucking population is middle class. That they have us fighting over shit that has nothing to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's telling you, that you can't really get government assistance and you're not going to invest. You're just in this rat race. Now, here's another number for you. In 2025, 45% of adults identify as independent voters. The Republicans and the Democrats each held steady at 27%. So you have 51% of the population is the middle class. And you got 45%, almost half of the adults identify as independent voters. All right. So that means a lot of us don't like the two-party system, yet we're fighting over their talking points like our lives fucking depend on it.
Right.
Divide and conquer. Why? Because they put little things in front of us all the time to fight about that has really nothing to do with anything. And I'm gonna talk about one. Do you have anything before I move on?
No, go.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about one thing, and this might piss some people off, but the goal is not to piss you off. It's to show you how they pit us against each other over just something trivial.
Right.
All
And
right.
we already said people are going to get pissed off just to get pissed off anyway. So,
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the LGB community. All right.
oh, here we go.
Let's talk about that fight. Most people my age grew up not giving a fuck who you fuck. We just didn't. We were brought up that if whatever you did behind your door is you. Now, did we make fun of gay men? Yeah. But not so much because they were gays, because we didn't want we didn't want that to be portrayed as a man. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
You know, we didn't want a gay person that was a flamboyant gay person being portrayed as what you want to be as a man. That's why most of us picked at it. We didn't want to be portrayed that way, and we didn't want men to be seen that way. Point blank. Am I wrong?
No. Spot on.
So I mean, we did make fun of gay men, but it wasn't because they were gay. It's because we didn't want to be portrayed as that way.
They weren't a man's man.
Exactly. And so so be it. That's just the way it was back then. All right. But we accepted them, you know, and we didn't care that they were gay, nor did we care who they fucked as long as they was a consenting and as of legal age, you know? And that was accepted. We all got along. No longer a fight between straights and gays. It was. I mean, it kind of they was able to finally get married and all this other stuff, you know. So then they started adding more letters to the alphabet just to piss you off. And I really believe they did this, which is fine. Do you, you know? But the problem was they wanted us to join them in their world of make believe that a man could be a woman and vice versa, you know, that there was 100 genders and men can have babies and menstruate and people can be animals. You know, they want us to participate in all this. We can accept that a man could love a man, that a woman could love a woman. We accepted that. That was not a problem. And they could not, that they no longer had a problem to solve, right? So you
Yep.
start losing money, you start losing support, you stop losing the bickering between straight people and gay people because we
Mm.
accepted each other. And even back then they had transgender people. We didn't care. We didn't care that they, you know, they had what was it that they would do like RuPaul and them. They would have, I wouldn't say
Oh,
exactly
cross
RuPaul.
dressers.
Yeah, and they would have those shows and shit. People would go to them. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
But don't bring it to a school. Don't bring it to a library. You know, we don't want those kind of things. And when you start, they found that they can push a nerve by having kids start to transgender. They
Mhm.
knew that they can create a fight. And not only did they create a fight, is now they want to put that fight and group it with the lesbian and the gays. You see what I'm getting at? There's
Yeah.
no reason to group that together. That's not the same people, but they put them all together because why not? We can continue this fight with this group that we already have. Now, I can't speak for lesbian and gay community, and I'm not going to speak for the lesbian and gay community. Having said that, in my opinion, I think that the lesbian and gay community was hijacked by all these other letters. You know, because we can accept the fact, again, that a man can love a man and a woman can love a woman. But I know me personally and people that I associate with, we can't accept the fact that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man and a man can have a baby. That just don't happen. It's not natural.
Mhm.
It doesn't work. You don't have 100 genders. You can't, you can be a furry. You can be these things. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm not going to judge you for that. Don't ask me
To play
to
your game.
join in that. You
Yep.
know, don't ask me to call you a pronoun. Don't ask me, to say you a man when you're actually a woman or vice versa, or treat you like a cat or a dog. No, I'm not playing in that. And I think that's going to be a lot of problems for a lot of people. And they know that. And they can keep pulling that thread and they can keep pissing people off and they can keep people fighting each other because no one, it's going to take a long time for people to accept that. It is. It's going to take a
Right.
long time for people to accept that.
Yep.
But do you see where I'm going with that?
No, I definitely, yeah, they're always pitting shit. What is Q?
I don't know. I looked it up and some say queer and some say questioning. So it's depends on actually where you're at the time. So I don't
It's
know.
like where you don't know, you just don't know
You
what
just
you
don't
are.
know. Yeah, QIA. I mean, it's just so many letters. I'm not gonna lie. If I was a gay man,
No, there's an AI
I
video that's funny, like if Democrats ruled the world for like a million years, and I did you d I did you play it on here? Because 'Cause I've seen it on TikTok, and it's like, we found another letter to go in this, and Dude says, "We can't handle anymore. It'll throw off the rotation of the earth." And the woman says, "I don't care. You put it in there." And, you know, they were more worried about a letter getting put in there than the world spinning correctly.
Uh,
It's
or
that's what
people
I'm
just
getting at.
they get that lost in themselves.
Can we not put S in there for straight?
I don't I don't want to be
What?
we
No
don't have to be
bullshit,
part of that
Brian. Why
community
can't we be in there?
because I don't even want to go there.
Okay.
Honestly, I
No,
mean
I'm
they
just
have their own
kidding.
community. I just believe if I was a gay man, I would be upset that there's so many issues constantly being caused because
Old
of all
school
these
gays will
other
tell you
letters.
that.
What's that?
Old school gays will tell you they did not fight for this shit.
I can't see how you would. They've gone so
They're
far
embarrassed.
to being
They're embarrassed
accepted, you
because of
know?
this. Yeah, the older gays will tell you they're embarrassed by the LGBTQ plus crap. And you just said that's their community. To the people that push us to accept them, but they got to have their own community. What can we not all just be in one community?
I would have to believe that the actual LGBTQIA or whatever, that whole community didn't
Right.
even start this. I would believe that this came
The
out
government.
out of the ether. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, they creating a reason for us not to agree with them. You know, they
Right.
manufacturing a crisis that wasn't needed. They're just finding another reason to pit us against each other because
Right.
that's a very small percentage of the population to be able to gain traction that they did to move forward, an agenda.
Right.
Think about it. That's a very small population in this country.
Mhm.
And I think most people don't care what you do behind your clothes, in your home behind closed doors. I don't. I really don't. I just don't
I
think they
don't
want to be put in that illusion.
like I said, I don't agree with it, but I don't care either. I mean, I'm entitled to my opinion. Do I hate you? Do I not? No, I just don't. I because I don't have that problem, so I don't understand. And to me, like you said, there's two genders. There's male and female, and I'm not going against that ever.
Oh,
To
and
sit there and think that like two males and two females can be attracted to each other like a man and a woman usually are, that's hard enough to understand. But to sit there and try to make your own genders up and that we get to choose, that'd be like, okay, I'm gonna throw this out here, and I don't know if hopefully we don't get flagged for this or whatever. I didn't choose to be white, Brian.
so you want
Did you choose to be your nationality, your skin color?
no.
Can we go to the doctor and get
I
injected and
damn
get
sure didn't choose to be bald.
I know. Well, you can go to Rogaine and get you some or go to somewhere and get hair implants.
Yeah,
But what I'm getting at is, can we go get injected with dye to change our color to black?
you might be able to. I don't know if you'd be accepted. You'd
That's
probably
what I'm
be,
getting
yeah,
at. It's the same damn difference. E
misappropriation culture or whatever they say that.
Yeah, accept who you were born to be. Just like these white girls we hear trying to talk like they're black. Like, stop it.
Well, let me say this. You said accept who you was born to be, and most of these people believe that they were born to be something else, And if you believe that you were supposed to be a woman and you was born a man or born a boy and you believe that you're supposed to be a woman and you're in your 20s or whatnot, and you're old enough to make that decision that you want to make that sex change, do you? I don't care. That's your money. As long as we're not paying for it as a taxpayer, I don't give a shit what you do to yourself. I really don't. I don't think it's worth doing. I think you're gonna hurt yourself. I think you have more
You
mental
can't go
issues.
back.
No, I think you have more mental issues and you should
Yeah.
talk to someone. But if you go through all the you go through all the therapy, you talk to people, and that's still what you want to do, you know, don't make it normalized to where it's with the kids, and don't make me have to accept the fact of what you've done. And I think a lot of people that went through these changes in the past didn't care. They probably didn't want all this limelight brought to them. Eh,
Yeah,
that's just how I think. And
yeah.
that's just in my opinion, it was just another way to divide us.
And maybe the reason why I'm talking the way I am is not because I don't accept and, "Oh, that's a form of racism." No, it's not. It's like you said, they're shoving it down our throats.
Yep.
If they weren't shoving it down my throat, I wouldn't care.
Eh,
But since you're gonna shove it down my throat, now I'm gonna start speaking back, right? Now you're pushing me into a corner to say something,
I agree
and I
with you.
think they want that.
When you have a Pride Month and and the veteran only has a day for fucking Veterans Day, and the guys that died for the rights for us to argue about this today
Get Memorial Day.
get one day, they get Memorial Day, but they get a whole Pride Month. So yeah, I agree with you. Please excuse us if I don't buy any of your shit. That's being shoved down our throats.
Yeah.
But it does create division, and I think them, you know, they taking the small part of the population and they're making a huge deal of it for the majority of us.
They them.
They them. And what's really bad is the rich buy into this shit for some reason. And now we must follow their lead. I don't know why, especially rich white women, why they get in all this shit. Uh, and all of this just makes us mad at the wrong people. And this
Mm.
is just, again, the whole, it's a reason to keep us divided. All of this little stuff. And I'm not picking on gay people. I'm not picking on transgender people. I don't care. I'm just showing you how just adding a letter and them bringing it bigger and making it bigger and making it more prominent and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it on normal people, it creates a problem. It's a problem that we didn't want. We didn't ask to be part of
Or
that community. We
or
didn't
even
ask.
better
We didn't want to
better
join the
yet,
community.
them pushing it on sports to wear
Yep.
that stuff.
Yeah, that's even worse too. Especially the girls and women's sports is really fucked up because the whole reason that they have a girl in women's sports is because they can't physically compete with guys.
Right.
And to have a guy, first of all, let's take this a step even back further. Where have we gotten in society where a dude thinks that it's okay and it's good for him to go compete with girls and be proud that he beat a fucking girl?
Yeah.
How did we
Like
ever
that
get to that
swimmer.
point?
That
Yeah, any
swimmer
of them.
did that.
How did
Yeah.
the boxer in the
The
Olympics?
boxer.
How do you fucking come to that? Who allowed you to think that would go be a good thing to do? That I know you dude. You put some lipstick on, you go beat that girl up in the boxing ring. Now we ought to applaud you. Who the fuck thinks like that?
I should
Why are
have
we
done
not
that shit in
protecting our
high
women?
school, man. I'd have been a bomb on the basketball
That's what I'm
court.
getting at. Yeah, so we take a bunch of NBA players and we put them in WNBA. That does not make any sense. If
Yeah.
women could compete with men, there would be no need for women's sports. It's nothing
Right.
against women. That's the whole reason there's women's sports.
Right.
I don't know, man. Again, this is just another reason why they divide us. I'm not trying to make a big deal about it, but
Right.
they push that because they know that it's going to hit a nerve in people, and when they want you to accept it, they know you're not going to accept that, so that's something they can keep you pitted against each other on.
Yep.
And we got to be smarter than that.
Yep.
You got to be smarter than that. Which brings me back to the first video about Zionism beginning in Europe. And we talk a lot about Israel controlling our politicians and how AIPAC is the arm they use for this control. And for the most part, this is true when you look at the Republican Party. But who controls the Democratic Party? We'll discuss this in the next episode, as I believe we may be controlled by multiple countries and we're being destroyed from within. And in my opinion, our saving grace may be our Second Amendment rights.
Mm.
You got
That's
anything,
sad.
Jason?
No.
You see where we're going with this?
No, I see.
Is
I
this
hope
all making
everybody else
sense?
does. Oh, yeah. It makes sense. No, it makes total sense. We ain't senseless tonight. This stuff's making a lot of sense. I just hope other people can see it and see past your party.
Okay. Well,
Drop the party shit tonight or this week, guys. Just drop it. Try it for a week or two.
yep. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is the Sense and Senseless podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Jason.
Yeah, Jason. Peace.